You don't belong here. Not in first class. Stand up, or security will drag you out. This seat isn't for people like you. Move now, or you're not flying today. The words rang out across Gate 14, loud enough for everyone to hear. Travelers froze mid-step, their eyes darting toward the voice. A few phones were already raised, recording. The tension was immediate, thick, and uncomfortable. The voice came from Clara, the gate agent, mid-40s, sharp features, her uniform immaculate as she stood with a hand on her hip, pointing directly at Alicia Grant, a poised black woman in her early 30s, seated quietly near the first-class boarding lane. Alicia didn't move. She sat gracefully, wearing a soft gray blazer and tailored black slacks, her natural curls pulled back neatly, a single leather tote resting at her feet. Her presence was calm, composed, but Clara's words painted her as if she were a trespasser. "Did you hear me?" Clara snapped again, her tone rising. "First-class passengers only. You need to move, now." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Whispers rose. Is she not supposed to be there? Maybe she's trying to sneak an upgrade. Alicia finally looked up, her eyes steady, her voice soft yet carrying strength. "This is my seat. And this is my boarding group." Clara's lips curled into a thin smile, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, really? First class isn't just about a ticket. It's about fitting the part. And you? You don't exactly scream first class." The gate area grew quieter. Phones tilted higher. Every eye was on them now, waiting to see what would happen next. A security guard, broad and expressionless, stepped closer at Clara's gesture. Alicia remained still, her poise unshaken. Without a word, she reached into her blazer, pulled out her phone, and dialed a number. Her tone, calm but firm, cut through the air. "Dad, they're refusing me again. Flight 292. Do what you need to do." She ended the call. Slid the phone back into her pocket. Crossed her legs slowly, meeting Clara's smug glare without blinking. The gate seemed frozen, every bystander waiting, filming, whispering. Even a nosy woman near the counter muttered with a grin. "She's about to get kicked off this flight, just watch." Clara smirked, arms folded, her voice a little louder now, playing to the audience. "Last chance. Move, or I'll make sure you don't fly today." But Alicia didn't move. Didn't speak. She just sat there, calm as ever, and for the first time, Clara's smirk flickered. "She doesn't belong here, drag her out if you have to. Stop wasting time, she's holding up the entire flight. First class isn't for everyone, make her leave. If she won't move, we will move her." The tension at Gate 14 had boiled into something almost unbearable. Every traveler waiting for Flight 292 could feel it, a mix of discomfort, curiosity, and the electric thrill of a confrontation about to erupt. Clara, her arms crossed and voice dripping with authority, stood just a step away from Alicia Grant, her eyes narrowed with cold satisfaction. The security guard now towered over Alicia, his fingers grazing the radio clipped to his belt. The phones held by passengers, at least 6 now, gleamed under the fluorescent lights, capturing every word, every glare, every second. Clara's tone turned sharp, louder, cutting across the murmurs of the crowd. "Final warning, Miss Grant. You either get up now, or we'll make sure you don't fly today, or ever again on this airline. Do you understand me?" The murmurs spiked. Someone whispered, "She's going to get banned?" Another voice hissed, "She's too calm, this is about to flip." Alicia lifted her gaze slowly, her expression calm, unshaken, almost detached. Her voice, low but firm, slid into the tense air like a blade. "You're so confident you're doing the right thing, Clara. Are you sure you want to stake your job on it?" The question made the security guard pause. Even Clara hesitated, her lips parting for just a second before she scoffed loudly to cover her unease. "Oh, please. Don't try to intimidate me. You think calling Daddy is going to save you? Not today." She glanced over her shoulder, noticing a pair of businessmen watching closely, one of them muttering, This is getting out of hand. She hasn't even raised her voice. The nosy socialite, now enjoying her own audience as she live-streamed the ordeal, chimed in with a dramatic whisper. Bet she's pretending to be rich. Happens all the time. Watch, she'll be in tears soon. But Alicia wasn't breaking. She simply tilted her head slightly, her tone quiet and deliberate. Tears? No. But you'll be wishing you handled this differently, very soon. Before Clara could respond, Alicia's phone buzzed again. She didn't answer it this time, she just tapped the screen once, glanced at the security guard, and said softly, "You might want to hold off on touching me. Things are about to change." The words rippled through the watching crowd. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, sensing something big was about to happen. Even the guard's grip on his radio loosened slightly as he glanced nervously toward Clara, silently questioning if this was still a simple escort-her-out job. Clara, trying to reclaim control, straightened and barked for everyone to hear. "She's stalling. Remove her from this area, now." The security guard stepped forward, his hand hovering near Alicia's arm. But before he could act, a rumble of murmurs erupted near the entrance of the terminal. Outside the glass doors, a sleek convoy of black SUVs rolled up to the curb. Engines idled. Doors opened. And the crowd's whispers turned into a low roar of speculation. Who is that? Is this connected to her? That's Richard Cole, isn't it? The billionaire? Why would he be here? Alicia didn't move, didn't look outside, didn't even change her expression. She just sat, legs crossed, hands folded in her lap, her composure now radiating a quiet authority that everyone could feel, even Clara. Wait, who brings black SUVs to an airport gate? Is someone important here? Why would they stop boarding for this? Is this about her? What's going on? This feels like something big is about to explode. The atmosphere at Gate 14 shifted from tense to electric in seconds. The crowd, once murmuring about Alicia possibly getting thrown out, now leaned toward the massive glass windows, craning their necks to see. Outside, the convoy of 3 sleek black SUVs had rolled right up to the restricted curb, something only authorized personnel or VIPs could pull off. Their tinted windows reflected the glaring afternoon sun, while uniformed drivers stood by, pulling open the heavy doors. From the first SUV stepped Richard Cole, Alicia's father, mid-60s, silver hair, tailored charcoal suit that radiated quiet power. He didn't need to speak to command the room, even through the glass, the staff and passengers instinctively froze. Richard's expression was unreadable as he adjusted his cufflinks, walking with calm, measured steps toward the terminal entrance. 2 assistants in matching suits followed close behind, each carrying slim leather cases and speaking quietly into earpieces. Inside the gate, passengers erupted in whispers. That's Richard Cole, isn't it? The guy who owns half of Skylink Airlines? Wait, why is he here? Is this about that woman? Oh my God, she is. The security guard, moments away from grabbing Alicia, now stood frozen, eyes darting from the convoy outside to Clara, who was visibly losing her composure. Clara's confidence faltered for the first time, her voice cracking slightly as she muttered. What is this? Why is he here? This can't be about her. Alicia, still seated, finally turned her head toward the windows. Her gaze met her father's through the glass. No smile. No wave. Just a calm, knowing nod. Then, slowly, she rose from her seat, smoothing the front of her blazer, and spoke for the first time in minutes, her voice soft, but cutting through the gate like a blade. Clara, I told you, you'd regret this. The phones capturing the moment buzzed as the passengers' live streams blew up with comments, hashtags flooding the screens. Hashtag Skylink scandal. Hashtag VIP at the gate. Hashtag who is she? Richard Cole entered the terminal, flanked by his assistants, and walked straight past the gawking travelers and scrambling gate staff. He didn't glance at anyone. His stride was deliberate, every step echoing across the silent gate area until he stopped, right in front of Clara and the security guard. He didn't introduce himself. Didn't raise his voice. His eyes, cold and steady, shifted from the flustered Clara to the motionless guard, before finally resting on Alicia, who now stood calmly beside him. And then, with a voice quiet enough to make the crowd lean in just to hear, he asked, "Which one told you to leave, Alicia?" The room held its breath. "State your name." Slowly. "Do you realize whose daughter you just humiliated? In 3 minutes, your career will be over. Skylink will regret this, starting with you." The gate was dead silent. Every passenger, every bystander, every member of staff seemed to hold their breath as Richard Cole, calm but radiating power, stood directly in front of Clara, the gate agent. Clara's usual sharp confidence was gone. Her arms, once crossed defiantly, now hung stiff at her sides as she stammered, "Yes, sir, I didn't know who she was." Richard cut her off with a flick of his hand, his voice low but carrying like a warning bell. "Name." "Now." Clara swallowed hard. Her voice shook as she forced the words out. "Clara Matthews." Richard tapped something into his phone with one hand while his other remained tucked in his suit pocket. He didn't even look at her as he spoke. "In 2 minutes, Clara, your profile will be on a call with Skylink's board. They'll want to discuss why one of their staff humiliated a first-class passenger, my daughter, in front of 50 witnesses." Gasps rippled through the gate. Several phones zoomed in on Clara's stunned, paling face as the murmurs surged. "She's his daughter? That's Richard Cole's kid? This woman just ended her career in front of the whole airport." Clara's lips parted like she might plead her case, but Richard's sharp glance stopped her cold. Meanwhile, Alicia remained perfectly composed, standing slightly behind her father, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She didn't gloat. Didn't smirk. She simply met Clara's wide, panicked eyes and said softly, "I told you. You'd regret it." The security guard, who had been seconds away from dragging Alicia away, now shifted uneasily, stepping back slightly as he realized who he was dealing with. Richard pressed one button on his phone and lifted it to his ear. His voice, though calm, sent a chill through everyone listening. "Yes. Pull the $200 million investment from Skylink immediately. Freeze their flight operations at this terminal. And notify the FAA, there's a discrimination issue they'll need to address." Clara's knees seemed to buckle at the words. She took a step back, her voice trembling. "Sir, please, I didn't mean." Richard finally looked at her, his expression like stone. "You didn't mean to get caught. But now, you'll deal with the consequences." The entire gate erupted in whispers and clicks of phone cameras. Even the nosy socialite, who had been smirking before, now muttered under her breath, "Oh, she's done. They're all done." The supervisor, who had been lurking near the counter watching the chaos, suddenly stepped forward, his tone panicked. "Mr. Cole, sir, please, we can fix this. It's all a misunderstanding." Richard's cold gaze shifted to him, his voice even colder. "You allowed this to happen under your watch. You'll be speaking to the board as well. Stand by." He ended the call, slid his phone back into his pocket, and turned to Alicia, his tone softening only for her. "Do you want to take this flight, or their jet?" Alicia didn't smile, but her calm reply carried the same weight as everything that had just happened. "Neither. I want them grounded." The gate fell completely silent. Phones stopped moving. Everyone, Clara, the supervisor, the passengers, waited, stunned, as Richard nodded once and turned back toward his assistants. "Ground every Skylink flight leaving this hub. Effective immediately," he said, his tone like ice. And the entire airport seemed to freeze. Did he just say, ground every flight? Is he serious? This can't be real. Who is she to have this kind of power? I've never seen an entire airline freeze because of one passenger. The announcement didn't come over the speakers, not yet. But the words "ground every Skylink flight leaving this hub" echoed through the gate like a thunderclap no one could unhear. Passengers who were half paying attention suddenly snapped their phones up, recording. Even people at nearby gates started wondering over, curious why one man's calm voice had just thrown an entire terminal into chaos. Clara, the gate agent, was shaking now. Her once smug smirk had completely vanished. She glanced around, realizing there was no one left on her side, not the supervisor, not the security guard, not even the nosy socialite who had been live-streaming for entertainment minutes earlier. Every lens was pointed at her, and every whisper carried the same tone. She's finished. Totally finished. Meanwhile, Alicia Grant stood silently beside her father, still calm, still collected. She didn't revel in Clara's fear. She didn't need to. Her composure, quiet, unshaken, said everything the crowd needed to know. Outside the windows, 2 airport ground vehicles pulled up to the Skylink aircrafts lined along the tarmac. Crew members stopped loading baggage. Pilots stepped away from the cockpits, checking their phones as emergency messages hit their screens. Inside the terminal, phones buzzed and chimed as social media exploded. #Skylink scandal trending #2 worldwide within minutes. Clips of Clara yelling, "You don't belong here," already surpassing 100K views. Comments flooding in. Who is Alicia Grant? Did Skylink just get taken down on camera? Richard Cole doesn't play games. Passengers huddled in small groups, whispering frantically. I've never seen anything like this. He just cost them millions, right here, right now. She hasn't said 10 words, and yet she's controlling everything. The supervisor tried to approach Richard one last time, wringing his hands nervously. Sir, Mr. Cole, please, maybe we can resolve this quietly, without the shutdown? Surely. Richard didn't even look at him. He gestured to one of his assistants, his voice calm and deliberate. Make sure the board sees the live footage. Prepare the legal filings. I want Clara, her supervisor, and any executive who signed off on this staffing decision suspended by sundown. Clara's knees buckled slightly, her voice cracking as she muttered. This can't be happening. I didn't know she was. Alicia finally turned her head toward her, her voice soft but sharp enough to slice through the chaos. You didn't need to know who I was. You just needed to treat me like every other passenger. But you couldn't do that, could you? The words hit harder than Richard's threats. Clara's face crumpled, her lips trembling as the cameras stayed fixed on her. Then, with a faint chime, the airport intercom came alive. Attention, all Skylink departures from Terminal C are temporarily suspended. Please remain in your gate areas for further updates. The passengers gasped collectively, their phones rising even higher. The scandal, once just a gateside embarrassment, had just become a national headline in real time. Why are there bodyguards at a boarding gate? This isn't just about a refund, something huge is happening. That's Richard Cole, the man who owns part of Skylink. If he's here, this isn't a delay. This is the end of someone's career. The convoy didn't just stop outside anymore. The drivers, bodyguards, and Richard Cole's 2 assistants stepped fully into the terminal, their movements calm but unmistakably deliberate. The assistants, both in sleek dark suits, immediately scanned the gate area, noting every camera, every witness, every staff member still rooted in place. One of them tapped his earpiece and murmured, Mr. Cole is in position. Begin the broadcast link to the board. The atmosphere, already tense, now felt like a live press conference about to start. The murmurs from passengers swelled into hushed awe. Is this going on TV? Are we witnessing someone get fired in real time? Who is she to trigger all this? Alicia remained silent, her posture elegant, her eyes calm but fixed on Clara, who was visibly shaking now. Clara's voice broke as she finally tried to plead, her tone wavering. Miss Grant. I didn't realize who you were. Please, if you could just... Alicia didn't even turn her head to acknowledge her. Instead, she spoke softly, her words clear enough for every camera to pick up. I shouldn't have to be anyone special to be treated like a paying passenger. That's the problem, Clara. The supervisor stepped forward, desperate now, his words tumbling out. "Mr. Cole, we can fix this. Let's offer her a private jet." Full apology. "This doesn't have to escalate." Richard's calm gaze locked on the supervisor, his voice cutting like a blade despite its calm tone. "You think this is about a jet? Or a seat? This is about your airline treating human beings like they're beneath you because of how they look." He gestured slightly, and one of his assistants lifted a tablet. On the screen, live footage from every passenger's video, already being streamed to Skyline.